The house felt heavier these days. Like if walls were pressing in on me, it was just. Dad and me now, the air thick with something unspoken. Mom had left for her business trip a week ago, and the quiet suburban neighborhood outside our windows seemed to mock the tension building inside. D had been different lately. His touches lingered, his eyes shelled something I couldn't quite name. He told myself it was nothing, that I was reading too much into it, but the uneasing. My gut refused to settle. I was in Thekachan, fixing myself a sandwich when Hugh walked in. I could feel his presence bare. I saw him the way the room seemed a toe shift when he entered. He leaned against the counter, watching me with that strange intensity that had become our frequent "you're getting so tall" his head, his voice low, almost reverent. His hand reached out, brushing a strand of hair from my forehead. I froze, the butter knife slipping from my grip and clattering onto the counter. His fingers slingered for a moment too long, and a step back. My heart pounding. Dad has started, but the words caught in my throat. His eyes met mine, and there was something in them, something raw, something that made my skin crawl. "Sorry," I said quickly, pulling his hand back. "Just you remind me of her, your mom." Hell odd, but it sounded forced, hollow. I forced a smile, trying to shake off that discomfort, but it clung to me like a sickened skin that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. The house was skeet, save for the occasional creak off floorboards. I kept replaying Themamin in the kitchen, the way he had looked at me, the way his touch had lingered. "It's nothing," I told myself. "He's just tired, stressed." It's nothing, but the next day it happened again. I was in the living room, flipping through channelshin. He sat down beside me. He was Claserthon usual, his thigh brushing against me. I shifted, trying to create some space, but he seemed to inch closer, his arm resting on the back of the couch behind me. "What are you watching?" he asked, his voice casual, but his eyes were anything, but I could feel his gaze on me, heavy and intent, just nothing. I mumbled, holding the remote tighter. He leaned in, his breath warm against my ear as he peered at the TV. "You know we don't spend no now time together," he said softly. "Justice maybe we should change that." Mr. Mac churned, and I stood abruptly, muttering something about needing to use bathroom. I locked the door behind Mimi, hands trembling as I splashed water on my face. What the hell is going on, he thought. Staring at my reflection in the mirror, my pulse was racing, my mind a whirlwind of confusion and fear. This wasn't normal. This wasn't right, but how do you confront something like this? How do you even put it into words? Over the next few days I tried to avoid him staying in my room as much as possible, but the tension between us only grew as a suffocating force that seemed to topple every corner of the house. He'd knock on my door, asking if I wanted to watch a movie or go for a walk, and I'd make up excuses, my voice shaking. "Guz." I turned him down, but I couldn't avoid him forever. One evening, Heckernard me in the hallway, his expression a mix of frustration and something else. "Couldn't quite place it in," he said, his voice firm but soft when he'd to talk. I swallowed hard. My throat treed. As I nodded, he led me to the living room, and we sat on opposite ends of the couch, the space between us feeling bothfist and impossibly small. "I've noticed you been distant," he began, his icy arcing mind. "Is something bothering you?" My mind raced, trying to find the right words, but they all felt too heavy, too dangerous to say. I started, my voice barely above a whisper. "Dad, I didn't know how to say this, but some off stuff you've been doing lately, it's making me uncomfortable." The words hung in the air, sharp and unyielding. His face twisted, a mix of guilt and something thought looked like anguish. Aiden, I head trailed off, running a hand through his hair. "I didn't mean to. I'm sorry I didn't." Realized his voice cracked. And for a moment he looked so small, so broken, but relief I expected to feel didn't come. Instead, there was just more confusion, more fear. I don't know what's happening," I admitted, my voice trembling. "I don't know what you want from me." He reached out as if to touch. Maybe you stopped himself, his hand hovering in the air between us. "I don't want to hurt you," he said finally, his voice barely audible. "I never wanted that. I didn't know how to explain it." His eyes were filled with tears, and part of me wanted to comfort him, to tell him it was Sokka, But another part of me, a louder, angrier part, wanted to scream to push him away, to make him understand. How wrong this all was, we need to figure us out, I said, eventually my voice steadier than I felt. But I don't think he can do it alone, he nodded, his holders slumping as he looked down Athie's hands. You're right, he whispered to her. It'd right the silence between you stretched thick and heavy until I couldn't stand it anymore. More I stewed me, legs shaky, and started to walk away. He called after me, his voice pleading. I stopped but didn't turn around. I'm sorry, he said again, and this time it sounded like a confession. I didn't reply, just continued to my room, closing the door softly behind me. I sank onto my bed, my mind racing. What do I know? I thought, burying my face in my hands. How do I fix this? The weight of a towel felt unbearable, like I was drowning in a sea of emotions. I couldn't begin to navigate, but one thing was clear, things couldn't stay like this. Something had togged. The sound of the front door opening jolted me out of my thoughts. I heard Mom's voice, cheerful and familiar, cling out a greeting. My heart leaped into my throat. She's back. For a moment, I felt a flicker of hope, but it waxed quickly, overshadowed by dread. How do I tell her? I wondered, my stomach twisting into knots. How do I even start? I stewed me legs unsteady and walked to the door. I could hear her and Dad talking in the kitchen, their voices muffled, but calm. I hesitated, my hand on the doorknob, me heart pounding in my chest. Mom, I called out, my voice shaking. Can I talk to you alone? The words hung in the air, heavy and final. There was a pause, and then her footsteps approached, slow and steady. I opened the door, my eyes meeting hers. And in that moment I knew there was no turning back. Mom stood in the doorway, her suitcase still in hand, her icy aching mind with a mixture of curiosity and concern. She looked exhausted, I thought, noticing the faint shadows under her eyes, but there was no time to dwell on it. The words were already bubbling up inside me. Desperado, spill out, Aiden, she said softly, setting her suitcase down. What's wrong? I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. My throat felt dry, my tongue heavy. She stepped closer, her hand reaching out to touch my arm, and I flinched. Her eyes widened, and I saw the flicker of realization in them. Come here. She sagently guiding me to the edge of my bedway, sat down. Together, and the silence stretched between us, heavy and suffocating. I could hear Dad moving round in the kitchen. The clatter of dishes, the hum of the microwave. He knows. I thought he knows I'm about to tell her everything. I took a deep breath, my hands trembling in my lap. Mom, I began, my voice barely above a whisper. Something's been happening with Dad. Something weird. Her brow furrowed and she leaned in closer. Word. How I hesitated, my mind racing. How do I even explain this? He's just being different. Like he's always looking at Maine this way. That makes me He's been touching me more, like hishened on my shoulder or my back, and it doesn't feel normal. It's like he's trying to be closer to me, but it's too much. It's too much. Intense. Mom was silent for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Thun. She reached out and took my hand, squeezing it gently. Oh, Aiden, she said, her voice trembling. I'm so sorry, I had no idea. I looked up at her, tears spricking at the corners of my eyes. I didn't know what to do, Mom. I feel like I can't even look at him without feeling gross. I've been trying to avoid him, but just keeps coming closer, like he doesn't even notice how uncomfortable. She nodded, her jaw tightening. You didn't have to deal with this alone, it's withered. I'm here now, and we'll figure this out together. I need you to tell me everything, okay? Every detail, no matter how small it seems. I swallowed hard, nodding. She's on my side. I thought a relief flooding through me, but the fear was still there, lurking just beneath the surface. What if she doesn't believe me? If she takes his side? We sat there for what felt like hours, me recounting a very moment that had made my skin crawl, every lingering touch, every intercessor. Mom listened intently, her expression growing darker with each word. When I finally finished, she let out a long, shaky breath. This is serious, Aiden, said, her voice firm. We need to address this hidden. I'll talk to your father, and we'll figure out the next steps, but I need you to know something. This is not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. Do you understand me? I nodded, tears streaming down my face. She pulled me into a tight hug, and I buried me face in her shoulder, letting out a sob. I hadn't realized I'd been holding in. "Thank you for telling me," she whispered. "I'm so proud of you for being brave enough to speak up." We stayed like it for a while, the silence between us curving now, instead of oppressive. But eventually Mom pulled away, her expression determined. "I'm going to talk to him now," she said, standing up. "I need you to stay." "Here, okay, let me handle this." I nodded, wiping my face with the back off me hand. She gave me one last, reassuring smile before walking out of the room. Closing the door softly behind her, I sat there, my heart pounding in my chest, straining to hear what was happening downstairs. The voices were low at first, barely audible, but then they started to could hear Mom's voice, sharp and angry, and Dad's defensive and pleading. Mr. Mac churned, and I wrapped my arms around myself, trying to block out the sound after what felt like an eternity. Voices quieted down, and hard footsteps on the stairs. My bedroom door opened, and Mom stepped in, her face pale but determined. "He's downstairs," she said quietly. "He wants to talk to you." I stared at her, my heart skipping a beat. "What? No, Mom, I can't. I'll be there with you," she interrupted, her voice firm. "You don't have to face him alone, but he needs to hear from you directly. He needs to understand how his actions have affected you." I swallowed hard, my hands trembling. I don't want to do this, I thought. I didn't want to see him, but I knew she was right. If I didn't confront him now, the tension would only grow, and it would never go. Okay, I whispered, standing up. Letting go, we walked downstairs, Dogger Mom's hand resting on Miss Holder for support. Dad was sitting at the kitchen table, his head in his hand, swanned. We entered the room. He looked up, his eyes red and swollen. "Aiden," he said, his voice cracking. I don't know what to say. "I'm so sorry." I stared at him, Mr. Mac, churning. "How can he just say that? Like it fixes everything you hurt," I said, my voice shaking. "You made me feel like I couldn't even be in my own home without being scared of you. Do ya have any idea how that feels?" He flinched. "Ears? Never meant to hurt you." "Aiden, I thought I was being close to you, but I see no how wrong. I'm so sorry. I'll do whatever it takes to make this right." I looked at Mom, unsure of what to say. Shay gave me a small nod, encouraging me to keep going. "You need to change," I said, my voice steadier now. "You can't just act like nothing happened. I need to know if you understand how wrong this was." Nodded quickly, his hands trembling. "Ito, I understand, and I'll do whatever it takes to earn your trust back," I promised. Stared at him, my heart pounding. Is it truly this easy, I thought? Can he really just apologize and say he'll change? Mom stepped forward, her voice firm. "This isn't just about apologies. We're going to get help as a family, therapy, counseling, whatever it takes to make sure this never happens again." Dad nodded, his face pale. "Yes, anything, whatever you need, I'll do it." I looked between them, through it of everything pressing down on Muhat. Happens now, I thought. How do we move forward from this? Mom reached out, took my hand, squeezing it gently. "We'll figure it out together," she said softly, "one step at a time." I nodded, but fear was still there, lingering in the back of my mind. "What if it's not na? What if we can't fix this?" Aiden Ed said suddenly, his voice breaking. "I love you, and I'm so sorry I made you feel like you couldn't trust me." I looked at him, my chest tightening. Do I believe him? I thought, can I trust him again? But before I could respond, Mom spoke up. "Weck work through this," she said firmly. "Booteets going to take time and trust and effort." Dad nodded, his eyes filled with guilt and regret. "I know, and I'm willing to put in the work for you, Aiden, for our family." I stared at him, my heart pounding. Is this the beginning of something better, I thought, or is it just the end of what we had? I didn't know the answer, but as I looked at Mom, her hands still holding mine, I knew one thing for sure: we're in this together, and that at least gave me a glimmer of hope. It's a Killians that followed Dad's apology. Washivi. Like the air before a storm, I could feel Mom's hand still gripping mine, her warmth grounding me, but my thoughts were spiraling. Dad's words hung in the air. "I'm willing to put in through work," but I didn't know if I could trust them. Trust them not yet, maybe. Not ever. Mom broke the silence first. Aiden, she said softly, her voice steady but laced with something I couldn't quite place. "We need to talk about what happens next." I looked at her, my throat tight. "What happens next?" I echoed, my voice barrel above a whisper. She squeezed my hand. Dad is going to start therapy. We are going to do family counseling, but it's important that you feel safe. And that's the priority. I glanced at Dad Hoas, still sitting at the table, his head in his hands. He looked so small, broken, and for a fleeting moment, I almost felt sorry for him, but then I remembered the way he looked at me the way. His touch had lingered, and the sympathy evaporated like a drop of water on hot pavement.
Ow. I don't know if I can just go back.
Too normal, I admitted, me voice trembling. You don't have to, Mom said. Firmly normal isn't the goal here, healing is, and that's going to take time, Dad. Finally looked up, his eyes redrimmed and swollen. Aiden, he said, his voice cracking. I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you. I don't know what came over me. I didn't respond. I couldn't. Words felt empty, like he was apologizing for spilling milk, not for making me feel like I wasn't safe in my own home. Mom stood her chair, scrapping against the floor. We're going to talk these one step at a time, she said, her tone leaving no room for argument. For no, Aiden, you can sleep in my room. If you'd feel more comfortable, your dad will stay in the guest room. I nodded, riff flooding through me. It wasn't a solution, but it was something. A temporary barrier between me and the man who had shattered my sense of safety. The next few days passed in a blur. Dad kept this distance, spending most of his time, me in the guest room or outside in Thebachard, but the house still felt charged. Like the calm before a storm, every time I saw him, my stomach twisted into knots, and I found myself retreating to my room, to the sanctuary of my bed where I could curl up under the cover and try to block out the world. Mom, on the other hand, was a constant. She checked in on me, constantly asking how I was feeling, if I needed anything. If I wanted to talk, I appreciated it. Booty didn't know what to say. How do you explain that you're terrified of your own father, that every time he looks at you feel like you're being stripped bare? One evening after dinner, Mom knocked on my door. Can I come in? Shisked, her voice gentle. I nodded, and she stepped inside. Closing the door behind her, she sat on the edge of my bed, her hands folded in her lap, and for a moment she just looked at me like she was trying to read my mind. Aiden, she said, finally, I know this is hard. I know you're scared, but I want you to know I'm here for you no matter what. He blinked back, tears my throat tightening. Why? Did he do it? I asked, my voice breaking. Mom sighed, her shoulders slumping. I don't know, sweetheart, she admitted. I think he's struggling with something deep inside. Something he doesn't understand. But that doesn't excuse what he did not. Atal, I hugged my knees to my chest, mimicked racing, struggling with something deep inside. What did that even mean? Was it anger, loneliness, something darker? I didn't know, and I wasn't sure. Why did Toe? I don't know if I can ever feel okay around him again, I whispered. Mom reached out, brushing a strand of hair from my forehead. You don't have to right now, she said softly, but I think in team you might be able to, if he's willing to change, if he's willing to put in the work. What to say? The idea of trusting Dad again felt impossible, like trying to build a sandcastle as the tide rolled in the next morning. I woke up to the sound of voices downstairs. I crept to the top of the stairs, my heart pounding, and listened. I can't believe this. Aishaponing Dad's voice was low, almost a growl. I'm trying, I'm trying to fix this. I know Mom's voice was calm, but trying isn't enough, Ryder Yunnid, to show Aiden that you're serious. You're willing to change there? Was a long pause, and then Dad said, I didn't mean to hurt him. I didn't mean to. His voice trailed off, and I felt a shiver run down my spine. Didn't mean to. Words echoed in my head, taunting me. How could he not have meant to? How could not have known how it would make me feel? I took a deep breath and descended the stairs, at my footsteps heavy on the hard wood. Mom and Dad both looked up as I entered the kitchen, and for a moment no one spoke. Aiden, Mom said finally, her voice cautious. How are you? Feeling ignored her, my eyes locking with Dad shut. Did you mean when you said you didn't mean to? I asked, my voice cold. Dad flinched, his face paling. Aiden, I know, interrupted, my hands clenching in her fists. You keep saying you didn't mean to, boo. You did. You did it, you knew it was wrong, and you did it anyway. Dad's shoulders sagged, and he looked away. You're right, he said quietly. I did, Andy. I'm so sorry, Aiden. I don't deserve her forgiveness, but I'm going to try to horn it, I swear. I stared at him, my chest heaving, try to earn it. The words felt hollow, like a promise he couldn't keep, but as I looked at Mom at the determination in her eyes, I realized something. I didn't have to forgive him, not yet. Maybe not ever. I don't know if I can forgive you, I said. Finally, my voice trembling, but I'm willing to see if you can change. Dad nodded, his eyes filled with something that looked like hope. Thank you, Aiden. He said softly, that's all I'm asking for. I didn't respond. I couldn't. The words felt like a weight on my chest, and I turned and walked out of the kitchen, my heart pounding in my ears. As I climbed the stairs, I heard Mom's voice behind Mule. Get through this, Aiden, she said to Gogger. I didn't look back. I couldn't best deep down. I wasn't sure if we wooled.